Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, intentional living guide, publisher of Aspire magazine, and passionate advocate for bringing you conversations to inspire you to live your best life. I'm super excited today to have this magical woman with me. She is a singer, songwriter, producer, and multi-instrumentalist whose radiant voice and musical vision encompass pop, world music, electronica, and devotional mantras. And I visited her site and had so much fun listening to her beautiful voice. Donna De Lory joins me today. She has spent her life living with intention. Health, wellness, and nutrition have been the forefront of her life. Values instilled by her mother when she was very young. And what a life Donna has lived. She gained notoriety as a backup singer for Madonna, traveling the world and performing on stage with the pop icon. I love this term, known as the mantra melody queen. Donna has transformed herself from pop to mindfulness. In doing so, she is at the forefront of leading millennials into meditation. Her music today captures the hearts of millions in mindfulness, wellness, meditation, and yoga. Welcome, welcome, Donna.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here with you.
Well, what a beautiful journey. It just sounds like an unfolding almost, right? So I'd love for you to take us back to how your journey began and how you got into music. I know because I've read your bio and you have such a deep family history in the music industry. But how about you personally? When did it embrace you and say, this is what you're meant to do?
I just always loved music. I remember singing along with the radio, and in the car, I just loved music. Those are some of my earliest memories of just hearing my voice singing along. And I, of course, have my record collection, and I have my turntable in my room. And I just would always come home from school and just be in my room playing records and singing and dancing around my room. And then, of course, my dad was a producer and a musician, so I was always got to visit him in the studio. So I got to be around a lot of singers and musicians, and I just felt those were my people. I shared that with my dad, which is a really big musical and spiritual connection, because we were just aligned in so many ways with our love and passion for music, but also all kinds of spiritual philosophies, and we were like two peas in a pod. When I was 16, we moved to Nashville, Tennessee, where my dad was, kind of continuing on with his career as a producer arranger, but we wanted to leave Los Angeles and start fresh, because my mother had died of breast cancer. And even though my parents were divorced, we really wanted to start a new life. And I went there, and it was just my dad and I in Nashville doing music. So then I continued growing up in music there, and then continued on becoming a solo artist.
And what a beautiful journey. I love that. I can hear the depth of connection between you and your dad. And if I'm correct, your grandfather too. So such a legacy. Your grandfather was in the industry also.
Absolutely. He was, he ran away from home when he was a teenager to join the vaudeville show, and ended up as a juvenile lead in New York City. And he had these huge dreams of studying opera, and he wanted to be an opera star. But then he went to France. His family was French. He was the son of a Frenchman. So the story goes that in order to go to France to study with this master, he would have had to leave his wife and his kids for a year or two to go, I guess, serve in the French army. And for some reason, he gave up on that dream. So I also got to experience that, what it's like for a family member to like give up on their big dream. And my Nana, who was like a mother as well to me, really instilled in me to stay with my dreams and choose that life. You know, she supported me in choosing the life of being an artist and going that direction.
What a blessing to have that kind of family support, because so many creatives and artists and visionaries don't have that because they don't fit in the box that most families want. So what a beautiful energy to be raised in.
It was really beautiful, and all kinds of subtle, you know, my Nana would tell me all kinds of stories about how they met when she was like in Taft, California, and he was in the show, and he was the lead singer of the show, and how he would sing to her, and she was a fan of his. And it was just so sweet, the stories of the family, and then how my mom and dad met. My mom was a singer, and they met in a club. She was singing, and he was playing piano. Yeah, just so much music personally and professionally. I started when I was 8 years old singing professionally. So I got a taste of that early on, and I knew I had a skill that I could use my voice and, you know, whatever it was, singing commercials or doing movies. I did a lot of voiceover. So early on, I think that had a lot to do with, you know, I knew I was really good at something, and I love singing. I love the vibration of it.
That's beautiful. And how did you end up from 1986 to 2006 becoming a backup singer for Madonna? I mean, because that's going to be a pretty competitive thing. And you did it for 20 years and traveled the world. And I know you worked with many other well-known artists. But how did you end up there? Because that's magical.
Yeah, well, 1986, I started working with Pat Leonard, who was her producer and her musical director. He had worked on True Blue, that album with her, had a lot of hits. So they were getting ready for the tour. I guess I was his new favorite singer because I did the demo for Open Your Heart, and he'd heard that, and he started hiring me on singing demos for all these artists that he was trying to get to do his songs. And I would go in and sing with like Fee Waybill. I mean, he just had me over every day at his studio, singing with Carly Simon, anyone he was producing, Christopher Cross. I mean, there was like a list of people. And all of a sudden, I had given up my other two jobs, and I got to just be singing every day and in the studio with him. But I knew he was working on this tour. And I kept bugging him saying, "You've got to get me in there, get me an audition." And he said, no, she already hired the women from Little Shop of Horrors, which were these beautiful, I think it was a trio, and they were already like a group that had worked together, and they were in that show, and she had that really strong concept. And so he said, it's not going to happen. You know, you don't really fit the part, and it's already done deal. But I ended up getting a last minute phone call one day in the heat of the summer in the valley of, in the San Fernando Valley, saying, can you get ready and come to an audition and come meet Madonna? And I was like, it was one of those really hot days. I was like right by my air cooler that barely worked, just sweating. And I was thinking, okay, I got to pull this together. So I called a friend who was a makeup artist. I started pulling clothes out because I knew how visual she was. And I just thought, this is it for me. After so many auditions in Hollywood and not getting things, you know, they weren't right for me. I knew I had to really go for this. And I prepared myself. I got another call in a couple hours. They gave me the address, and I went and I met her. And it was like every other singer was there from LA, you know, and I just had the determination. I was very nervous, of course, but Pat was there, the producer, and he really supported me. He knew our voices would sound great together. You know, he knew it from me singing that demo. And I mean, he just knew. So he ended up having us both sing the bridge to La Isla Bonita. I want to be where the sun warms the sky. Thank God I knew the song. And she was not looking at me when we were singing. So she turned around and said, why aren't you singing? And Pat, you know, I was like, what do I say to Madonna right now? I just met her, and I was like, I was singing. So Pat said, Madonna, you guys double each other perfectly. You guys sound perfect together. and she was singing. So after that, it was like a whole week of doing auditions and dancing, and I had had a lot of dance training, and I'd also been a dancer, so that came in handy. And it was just, this was like my mom's dream as well. She always wanted to, her time was like the Andrews Sisters, and the 40s. And she was an Arthur Murray's dance teacher. So it was just, it was like this big dream coming true to be able to go out with the biggest artist, singing and dancing. And I also got to be very theatrical, which I loved, acting. I always loved putting on a costume and being a different person, I loved it. I was on top of the world, I was like, bye-bye, everyone. And it totally changed my life. After that, it changed, of course, my career because I had that credit. It was such a big credit. And so I got to sing with a lot of more artists. And I started getting like little offers to do my own records. Like I got an offer in Japan to do a single. People were offering me to do like mainly dance music, dance pop. And I started like back up with my spiritual studies. I was always reading these books. I had like The Power of Myth with me on tour, and I was so inspired lyrically, and it's these beautiful, beautiful myths and stories that were just reflecting the mysteries of the human experience. And I wanted to really write and sing about that, but I didn't know how I could do it because I was in pop music. And then later on discovering a lot more about world music from being on tour with Madonna, being in Turkey and Israel. And we just were exposed to so much. And I thought, I want to incorporate these sounds and into my music as well. So as the journey went on, I started piecing the whole thing together and really getting back to myself and finding my own artistry, my own sound.
Well, I got to tell you, what a beautiful and sacred journey you've been on, Donna. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk about your transition from pop over to becoming the mantra melody queen. I listened to your music, absolutely stunning. So we'll be back in a moment, my friends, with Donna De Lory. You can learn more about her and her sacred music at donnadelory.com. We'll be right back.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Hey America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me today is the one and only Donna De Lory, singer, songwriter, producer, and multi-talented artist. So, Donna, you shared so beautifully your story that led you to the work you're doing in the world. But then you went through another transition, right? From pop to the work you're doing now as the mantra melody queen. And your voice, I listened to the song on your homepage. It's just so etheric.
Mm.
Like, it just brings you right, I'll speak for myself, it brought me right back into my body. You know, like that grounding presence. So thank you for that gift. But how did you, explain that transition in your spiritual personal journey?
Well, as you were just talking, I flashed on something. One of the co-writers I was working with, around 1990, we were writing material for my first album. I always had this thing where I wanted to be like Pat Benatar, rock singer. And he used to say to me, the magic in your voice is when you just totally relax and it's more of an airy, high sound, that angelic sound that's in your voice. And I just didn't want to see it. I didn't want to hear it, It took me a long time to just settle into that sweet spot in my voice and find that magic. And it was really just from following my heart and my passion. And it was from starting to surround myself with the different kind of instrumentation, and meeting a cellist named Cameron Stone and starting to work with him, because my whole band went on tour with Terrence Trent D'Arby, and it was just he and I. And then I was at a party and a friend of mine gave me a harmonium. He just gave it to me and he said, here, I'm going to lend this to you for a while. And it would be really cool if you use this in your band. But the band was gone. So it was just the cello and the harmonium. And then I went to Guitar Center and I bought like one of those Ashiko African drums. We started recording with just those three things. And my voice, my style started changing. And I'd left my record company where I did my big pop debut. And I was just free. I didn't have to write a hit single anymore. I didn't have that pressure. I could just find my own style. And then it was just, explosion of the internet at that time with online distribution, which helped me a lot because I got to release my first solo record as an independent artist, which was my second solo record called Bliss. And in there, I started experimenting with a lot of different, Indian percussion, a lot of strings, cello. So it was different. It wasn't like so guitar-driven pop music, but there were pop elements in my songwriting. And then from there, I think I just kept exploring more and more. It wasn't until 2003, 2004. 2003, I had my first child on my own. So I was in a really, I felt very vulnerable. I was trying to find the strength to do this on my own. And I started chanting more mantras. And I started chanting Hey Ma Durga, which is mantra to one of the names of the Divine Mother. It's a Sanskrit mantra. And that became the first kind of piece I wrote for my first yoga-inspired album, which was really interesting because there was a record company that was doing that kind of music. They came to me and said, we want you to do an album. We know you make all this beautiful music, but we just want mantras. And I knew like two mantras at the time that I really knew that I could sit down at the piano and sing, and it was part of my practice. So I just dug in deeper. I was around my friend David Newman. Mm-hmm. On just a moment. David Newman, who was a chant artist at the time, had taught me a lot, and as well as a man named Dave Stringer. I'd listened to my share of Jayu Tal records and Krishna Das and everything, and I've been really into that music, but I honestly didn't know that I could do it, that I could make that music. So I just began, and that was it was a project that was given to me to explore myself, my creativity, but also my spirituality. And it worked out great. It was my first album that was mainly Sanskrit, some English. It was called The Lover and the Beloved. And I just remember some of those sessions singing those mantras where I felt like I was witnessing myself. I wasn't, it was just this ease and this flow with my voice. It was a different kind of connection. And I felt the thing that I could most say is that it's transcendent. It transcended, like I would just lose myself with my voice singing.
That's what I heard when I listened.
Transcending time and space. Yeah.
That's what the word, it captures it beautifully, of what I experienced was transcendence. And if I remember correctly, bliss became almost like the soundtrack, and those songs, The Lover and the Beloved, The Sky is Open, became almost like the soundtrack for the burgeoning yoga and mindfulness movement back then.
Yeah, and people don't realize it's not like yoga. It's like all of a sudden yoga studios were popping up everywhere, and then it gave us different kinds of artists an opportunity to have venues to play in. And we started, and the yoga centers and the teachers, those were like our radio stations. And those people were spinning playing our music. And
that is like how the movement got going with this type of music.
Yeah, I think there were other artists like David Pramal, who is coming out of Europe, I think out of Germany and New York City. I remember standing in line in like 2003 probably for one of her shows in New York. She had already gotten to a place of being pretty big. And then Krishna Das, they had been like just consistently touring at that time, yoga centers and spiritual centers and maybe churches, New Thought churches, and getting this going. So really finding, it's like they found these people that were, I always think, we have the Christian music and it's so big, but this other kind of spiritual music hadn't really been an option for people to go. I think if they wanted to, they were going to see their guru and there was chanting, or they were in a New Thought church, there was this, music is a big part of that. But this different kind of genre was just growing. And it was alternative spiritual music, And I feel such a connection with all these artists that also were doing this at that time, because we're all really like-minded. And it's really interesting. We're all friends and we all collaborate on each other's records. Like Tina Malia, I sang on her record. She sang on my song Kinder. David Newman is one of my dearest friends who does this kind of music. Garish, Wah. There's so many beautiful artists. So what I love is when people discover this music, there's so much more to dig into it and find and discover. And it's so beautiful. It's so positive. All these people, I feel like their lives are really focused on wellness, conscious living. So I think it's just a beautiful, positive thing. We all need that positive energy more and more.
Yes, we do.
In our lives. And it's really interesting. I reconnected with Belinda Carlisle, who's an old friend and a person I used to travel with as well on tour. And my brother was actually waiting on her in a restaurant he was working in. And he said, you know my sister, Donna De Lory. And she's like, oh my God, she used to sing with me, but I'm a huge fan of her chant music. And we ended up getting back together after so many years, reuniting and we decided we're going to collaborate, but it's all, she just wants to do chant music with me, mantra, and it's all going to always go to a charity. So this is all about giving back.
That's beautiful.
And yeah. So we did one for a charity called Yoga Gives Back, Sat City, which is a Kundalini mantra. And she has a really strong Kundalini yoga practice. So it's really interesting. You get on this path and all these people, it's amazing. You reconnect with these people from your past, but you're on the same path now.
Yeah, it's beautiful, all the synchronicities.
Yeah.
And I was reading that, you're also known for your beautifully produced recordings that also have these gorgeous, beautiful music videos. And they've amassed over 1 million views on YouTube at the time I read that. That is magical. That tells you the ripple effect of your journey.
Yeah. And I love that. I love videos. I have a really great friend, again, that I worked with forever of doing my videos, who I met through Madonna, through that whole camp. And we're still working together after so many years. And I feel so blessed to have that. Whenever I have a concept for something, I have a new video I want to work on for a song called So Hum Breathing In that's from my new album called Gone Beyond, and it's a remix. And I just have this idea that I want to just show people it's kind of in front of like a white backdrop and just being themselves and in their bliss, and all kinds of people, all ages, all shapes, all sizes. And what is their breathing practice? What is their bliss practice? And of course I want to bring in like a lot of my yoga, teacher friends. And, so I have this concept. So I'll call him up and say, how can we do this? And it's so beautiful. And to be supported in that way and to not, it's just beautiful to find your own tribe to work.
Oh my God, it is. Yes. I get that. I've owned Aspire magazine for 16 years now. We have 40,000 subscribers to all my other media brands. And they're all women on the path of self-discovery. And I feel like when I'm serving them and communicating with them, like we're all one, right? And when you find that, it's just a sacred feeling. And I want to invite everyone before we go to our next break to visit Donna at donnadelory.com. You'll find her music, her downloads. You'll learn all about her. So again, donnadelory.com. Donna, we're going to take our next break. And when we come back, I want to talk about your path to conscious living, because you've incorporated all that into raising your family. So I'd love to talk about that a little more when we come back.
Sounds great.
We'll be back in a moment, my friends. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Visit my guest, Donna De Lory, at donnadelory.com. We'll be right back.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Are you struggling to grow your mission-driven business in a way that feeds your soul and fulfills your purpose? When you discover your unique human design and divine blueprint, you'll feel empowered in your business, aligned with your inner wisdom, and open to the flow of abundance and success. Nancy O'Keefe is a certified human design specialist and intuitive business coach, successfully coaching entrepreneurs for over 25 years. She is passionate about helping you understand your divine design and your personal formula for success. She knows what it takes after creating her own multi-7-figure firm. Nancy helps women peel back the layers of who they've been taught to be to reveal who they truly are, so they can build an abundant and sustainable business that feeds their soul. Schedule your complimentary call today at nancyokeefecoaching.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Me, a cat, moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back, my friends. So Donna, right before the break, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about your choice for conscious living, because health and nutrition played a big part of your life from a young age. How did that lead to what inspired you with your own family?
Yeah, it's really funny because just early on, my parents were divorced, but my dad was the one who had like whole wheat bread and was getting into health foods when I was little. And I just remember going, what is this? But of course, my mom got sick and ended up passing. And when we moved to Nashville, I was just on a huge health kick. I became vegan. I got a job at a vegetarian restaurant. I hung out with people for the first time that I'd go to their house and we'd go in their garden and pick our salad, which blew me away, to have that experience. And it's funny that of all places, it took an LA kid to go to Nashville to discover that. So I just got on this path, and I was, I was reading autobiography of a yogi, but I also was, I just was really into starting to read about herbs and nutrition, and came back to Los Angeles, and I always would go to, my centers. And now I look back and I think it was the community. It was the like-minded people I wanted to be around. So I'd be at the Macrobiotic Center, really interested in going to talks. Even I think his name's John Robbins, who wrote Diet for a New America. Yeah. I just remember I was open, and I was always on that path. I think that a lot of that, of course, was seeing a parent get sick when they were young, and passing, and knowing inside that I needed to be on this path for my own health. So as the years went on, I focused my life in a big way on that. I always had a nutritionist. I was always more and more getting organic when it was more accessible. Then I ended up, my husband is an integrative doctor. So we really our life is we try to grow as much food as we can. We try to have the purest lifestyle with the water and everything. And I try to, I try to allow myself to be out in the world, to not be so worried when I travel, which is there's a lot of times you can't control it. You can't control if it's organic or not. And sometimes you have to drink out of plastic bottles and things like that. And then there's just the mindfulness practice of, like Deepak Chopra says, just say a prayer and put out that good energy. And health and wellness is a combination of so many factors. And I'm always talking to my husband about his patients, how our mind is just the number one. It's number one with any kind of healing, and our beliefs and what's going on with our thoughts. So I just try to incorporate, of course, all kinds of spiritual practices, but especially practice Thich Nhat Hanh taught, which is a Buddhist Zen master and beautiful poet who I've been so inspired by, and he just passed last week.
Yes.
Every morning I read his words. They're so simple, and I just feel it just resonates. So much truth to me, the mindfulness practice. So I just try to more and more every day, whether I'm, unloading the dishwasher, doing it with joy and mindfulness, and eating is a big thing. Sitting down and enjoying your food and knowing it's nourishing your body, and knowing, I think that is such a great thing to know we can heal ourselves. And it takes away, sometimes it takes us having to get sick to heal ourselves, to know we can heal ourselves. But it takes away so much fear, because there's just so much, as we all know, with viruses and all kinds of things out in the world, that to feel like we are empowered to embody that strength, and we can protect ourselves. And there's so much now with knowledge. We can look everything up. You don't have to call your doctor. You can look it up online. It's great if you have a great doctor too. But, and then there's the intuition, right? My husband, recently we were talking about, I've had some health challenges in the last few months, and in working with a nutritionist, and he was just saying, I think you should eat, following your intuition. And believe in that. Like when I go in the garden and I feel, okay, I want to pick some of that and eat that now. Now I need that. So I feel good about my life going more in that direction and trusting that, as well as in a big way trusting that music and sound is such a big part of my healing, and I need to keep doing it. And sometimes we get, I have 2 kids, one kid's in college, one one is 13. She's riding horses every day. And we forget sometimes that our lives get so complicated, with just filled up with so many things we're doing. The simplest thing that brings you bliss, to remember to keep doing that and start your day with that. And so I started again, like picking up my guitar, which is right here by my side, and just doing a simple mantra on the guitar. And I'm not a great guitar player by any means, but it's just something to help facilitate that in me. And or a piano or a keyboard. So I so encourage people to have anything they feel, if they need a bowl to hit to create a tone, or a shaker, to have something to help bring that out in you and bring out that joy and bring out your voice and bring out that vibration. And if you don't feel like doing that, there's so much music that you can use as a tool to help you with mood, with healing. So I just feel so blessed and honored to have been given gifts that I can do this. And
you've done the inner work too, Donna, to discover what's for you. Like I live intuitively. I believe what you said earlier too about mindset in regard to health and everything else. It all starts there. So a lot of what you were saying resonated with my personal journey of health, healing, and wholeness. And I have a little tongue drum that my 10-year-old granddaughter bought me when she was 8. I love that. I have a goddess nook built into my office. We just built our intentional home 2 years ago. And I hit the tongue drum. Just sometimes I'll even go around my office. Like if I haven't been in my office for a few days, I go to each corner and hit the notes, like to move the energy. And it brings me such joy to do that. So a lot of what you were saying, I'm not as disciplined with the organic and all of that, but I've been learning to listen to what my body needs in the moment for food. And the biggest thing for me is learning how I had to learn to stop multitasking when I eat. Like to me, eating, I grew up that eating was just something to fill a hole. You know what I mean? It wasn't an experience. And I'm going to be 60. And the last 2 years, I'm trying to be so much more present when I'm eating instead of going, okay, I'm eating, watching a show, doing social media, trying to get stuff done, and eating's just another thing to get done, right? I see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in today's busy world, so many, I notice, especially the younger generation, 30s. I have a grandson that's 22. He wolfs his food down, right? And I'm like, oh no, another generation, right? So it's little things that I'm noticing as I get older, that I'm trying to be more present with my own relationship with food and being present with it instead of how I've always viewed it. Just do what you got to do to fill the hole.
Absolutely. I started working with this nutritionist a few months ago. And of course, the first thing she was saying is like, no phones at the table, no computer, just sit there. And this is the Thich Nhat Hanh's practice that he's been teaching with in the monasteries and everything, which I always wanted to go and I didn't get to go yet. But this mindfulness while eating, and I have one candle on my table that I light for dinner. I might even maybe light it for lunch. There's something that it represents. It's just like a calm feeling. And yeah, you kind of like set the state, you set the mood before you eat. It's so important. And asking yourself, is this nourishing my body to protect my body, or is it not? And being mindful and conscious about our choices of what we're eating when we know it's not really going to make us feel good. It's just so important. So I've been all my life I've been into nutrition, but now it's going even deeper.
It's going deeper for me from a spiritual point of view.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And like my honey, I've been with him 27 years. And it used to be a family joke, right? That I'm already on my dessert and he's still finishing his meal. And
That's interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and he would always say to me, baby, I'd go, oh, babe, I'm going to have my dessert now. And he goes, babe, you inhaled your food. You didn't even taste it. And like
Wow.
he enjoys his meals.
Ugh.
A meal will take him 30 to 45 minutes to get through.
And
He
that's
said, I savor it. I taste it. I'm done. Honestly, I'm done in 10 minutes. Doesn't matter how big the meal is. Because I'm not fully present. I'm just eating to get it done. It was never a sacred practice for him. It's just the way he's wired, and he's so grounded anyway. He enjoys his food. He has no guilt around food, right? Which, as you know, a lot of women do.
Yeah.
He enjoys every bite. And so the last couple of years I've been saying, I want that, right? It isn't, I want that. I want to be present in my food. I want to be slower. So I tell him, I go, you're my role model for this because, and we've been together 27 years. I'm a late learner.
That's so beautiful.
Oh, it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And so I keep monitoring myself as I eat. And I do have the habit, I will say, I still pick up the phone or I'm doing something else and I'm trying not to. Our dinner time, let me clarify, our dinner time, it's always him and myself. The kids are all gone. We have grandchildren now. So dinner, it's the two of us. I'm present because he's there. But I'm self-employed. My office is in my house. So breakfast and lunch, is myself. And I'm like, I'll just throw this together, gone in 5 minutes, right? And now I'm like, no, Linda, put it on your favorite plate. Like I'm doing little things. But I have to tell you, it's very easy to slide back.
Absolutely. You start by just picking up the phone and, well, I'm just reading it. I'm not on it.
Yes.
And
Donna,
by getting bored. Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to take our last break, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about this because you have some wisdom that, you gained from being a mother and that values you've instilled in raising your family. So in the last segment, let's talk about that.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll be right back with Donna De Lory of DonnaDeLory.com.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Are you ready to live a life of self-acceptance, inner serenity, and fulfillment? Many women, especially moms, live in a constant state of overwhelm, stress, and anxiety, and are chasing the illusion of perfection due to unconscious beliefs of not feeling good enough. It's time to stop the cycle. Maureen Melanson, certified master life coach and international hypnotherapist, passionately supports women to quiet the chatter of their mind and release the stories, scripts, and false beliefs, keeping them from hearing their inner truth and living their highest potential. As an entrepreneur of the Busy Wellness Center, Inner Serenity Wellness, and the mother of 8 children, Maureen knows firsthand the delicate balance for women to overcome overwhelm, commit to self-care, and to create a fulfilling life. And she's ready to support you on your journey to inner serenity. Learn more at innerserenitywellness.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Hello, my friends. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Welcome back. So, Donna, as we were just talking about in the last segment, I'm learning. It's like 3 steps forward, 1 step back about being present with my food and how easy it is that your intention might be, I'm going to take out the beautiful plate. I'm going to slow down my meal. And then unconsciously, 2 seconds later, the phone's in my hand. And it's like these patterns that are so ingrained. And I'm like, nope, now this week I've been trying, leave the phone in the other room because you don't even know when you're unconsciously picking it up. And I want to be present. So do you have any, did you experience that too, raising the kids and trying to teach them to be more mindful?
Yeah, I mean, I try to be an example and talk about those things and have that dinner time. But what ended up happening is my kids are 6 years apart. They're so different. They have 2 different fathers. So my older daughter would be at her dad's house half the time, and they just had different tastes and wanted different food. And my youngest daughter, like she's like my husband, actually, they eat fast, so it's really become like everyone had to kind of find their own way. And we're not, I cherish those Sunday night dinners, where we're all at the table together and we find a meal that's going to satisfy all of us, that's good for all of us. But I think that there's so much in allowing yourself the time. And right now I'm just getting into, like, for my health, having my practice and like so easily the dinner table becomes like an office. Like that's the first thing. Like you start putting packages on it. It's like, it's not sacred anymore. It's like you put your phone there, you put your magazine there, your calendar. And I've been trying to just keep everything very clean and zen and setting the table where it's beautiful, a beautiful place for me to sit down and a place to relax. So that's something I've been trying to do. The big thing is allowing ourselves time. It's like I've been allowing myself time to go lay in the sun every day. And I'm not a sun person, but I want the vitamin D, and just to lay there. And it's so weird. I mean, part of me is like, I'm looking up at the trees and I'm like, I'm laying in the sun. This is not the way I've been, because I'm always trying to get out of the sun. But this time of year, it's just so beautiful and it's soft. And taking more time, and I feel very blessed and grateful that I do have that time now to do that. I'm not like on a tour where I have to get to rehearsal every day and be there for 12, 14 hours, and I'm self-employed and I work on projects. I give myself my own deadlines for things, and it's all very inspired by what I'm feeling and what I want to do next. So I'm so blessed for that. But I just encourage people, whatever time they have. I have a friend who has a thriving business. She is very strict with, like, every day from this time to this time, I am preparing my meal and having my lunch and nobody bothers me, and that's her time. And I love seeing people take care of themselves in that way. It's like we have that time to go out into nature or to go, work out or to do every morning. I've been getting up and reading, poetry. And I have my little journal out in case I want to take some notes, or I think of a song idea, and I'll have like a lot of lyrics I'm working on at the same time. So I'll be able to just be inspired with that early morning, open-minded. There's just a space in the morning. I feel with your mind. You just got out of your dreams, and I don't know. It's a really creative time for me, and no one's up yet.
That's my time too. I'm all about intentional life, intentional business. I have an intentional home, but I had to learn that. Like, I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years this month, actually. But I used to push, strive, no spaciousness, always on the go, always trying to accomplish.
I know.
That was back then. Now people come to me to learn my sacred strategies for creating an intentional life in business. They're like, how do you run 5 media brands, have Fridays off? I just took a month off in December. I had 9 weeks off in the summer. My private clients have been with me for years, and my media brands run with ease and grace. And my team loves me because they love having Fridays off. And that was a learned thing, Donna. I had a contrast going. Is this what really life is about? Pushing, striving, 14-hour days, no spaciousness to lay on the grass, because I am a sun girl. So And now it's like I created the life to get those spacious moments, as you were beautifully describing, laying in the sun, right? Like, why should we feel guilty that we have a moment of time, but we're programmed to fill every single moment? And I love having guests on the show like you that be so beautifully explain, like, be present in the now, whether it's washing dishes, loading the dishwasher, or laying on the grass. And that's what I took from your message of that, finding that place for yourself.
Absolutely. You know, I've got like my, you know, because I'm working out of home, and I've got the 2 dogs here, which I love hanging out with them because they're just being, and they're resting, and then we go out on a beautiful walk for like an hour. And sometimes I just lay on the floor with them and I just let myself feel like joy and that, I don't know, this lighthearted feeling. And I just love animals so much, you know, and it goes back to like being a child when I had a dog, and it was just so emotionally supportive, and I felt so comforted with my dog. And it's just, it's the simple things in life, you know?
Oh yeah.
Right. And part of me is like, part of my brain is like, I got to travel. I got to get out and do this and that, and this festival and that. And I got to find out what's going on. And then other part of me is like, oh my God, I'm day to day, I'm having like a great life. I feel fulfilled in so many ways, feel healthier, even though I've had like major challenges in the last few months. I feel healthier because I learned from it. You know, I learned to tap into more strength and wisdom, and
Yes.
also asking for help, getting people who've been through it and they're 20 years down the line and they have this wisdom to share. And it's been hard because like my husband is an integrative MD and he's got a lot of opinions and wisdom, but there's so much more out there that I can learn.
There always is, and that's staying open to the support. We have a few minutes left, but I can so relate to what you're saying. Something you just said is allowing yourself to receive the support.
Yes.
So big. Last summer, unexpectedly, I ended up in the hospital emergency surgery that saved my life out of the blue. I had just had a beautiful photo shoot for my brand. 3 days later, I was in there for 13 days.
Yep.
And because of my mindset, my surgeon still has me come into his office to talk to his girls. I saw him yesterday, in fact. He said, every time we walked into your room, you were just love and light. And your case managers, everyone in the morning would say, we want Linda's room. And they told me that after the fact when I got released. And I looked back and I said, I was in my darkest days, if you look at the health issue that I was going through, the pain. But I chose to see the love, to see the light, to see the lesson, to see the blessing. I was blessed in the midst of all that. Does that make sense? And from sharing my journey with my audience, after I was through it, of course, I got so many notes and love messages from other women going, hey, I just got diagnosed with breast cancer. Your story reminded me that the story is in my mind, right? That there's still blessings all around me and there's still joy all around me. I could see now that experience, I'm facing a second surgery. I was supposed to have it December and COVID shut my hospital down. So it was rescheduled. So many blessings in the midst of it all. But the biggest thing I learned from that was allowing myself to receive love, receive support, let the nurses come and help me the first month, because that was really prideful for me. Like, I don't need it. I'm Superwoman. I can do this. And I
get it.
I let go, and the most magical, beautiful visiting nurses were assigned to me. And there was no accident. Right. They were all on the spiritual path, all had high vibration, all had the same mindset as me. So I am going, as we come to an end, I want to just say thank you for joining me to share your inspirational journey with us, because so many women, I think we just get blinded that life is an unfolding, right? There is no there. We're always unfolding, but we have to lean into it and listen. And you did, and look at the magnificent life you've created and are still creating. So thank you for the beautiful work that you bring to the world.
Thank you. Thank you for all your support and sharing your wisdom as well. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, Donna. And I want to invite everyone, please visit Donna at donnadelory.com. Listen to her sacred music. Let it take you away. Let it bring you the joy that it brought me. So until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.